Hello, everybody. We have Megha Bajaj in the house today. I am super thrilled and extremely grateful because Megha has been traveling for almost 3.5, 4 hours in the crazy peak traffic today to get to our studio and to be with us today. Megha is a best selling author. She's written books like Breakthrough, Thank You Cancer, and I Inspire, among many other books. And Megha is an ardent educator, passionate educator. She writes film scripts as well. Very soon, we're going to be seeing films from Megha. And what most people do not know is she's built this amazing, transformational, life changing SEL curriculum that many schools are using. Over 100,000 students have experienced her program, her curriculum, and are very actively designing their own lives and becoming the people that we all really hope that India has. So thank you so much, Megha Bajaj, for being here today at the Will Talks podcast. What are you feeling right now?
Willie, I'm so excited because I'm loving the team, the vibe, the green tea, the rains, and your enthusiasm is really infectious. So I'm really excited, and I know that 3 hour travel is going to be worth it.
It's amazing. And talk about the rain, right? Today, Bombay is battered with rains. We are on orange alert here. And so just, I just want to let you know that if you hear a little showers in the background, and that's because that we're braving through the weather and we're doing this to make, to make your day better and to give you something that you can really mull over and reflect upon. Megha, what kind of context would you like the listeners to know about what you're going to speak over time? So, what is the context that you want people to know about where you come from, what brought you here, what's your big why? Just go out there and bear it all for us.
So, Willie, I want to talk about things that's going to make a lot of difference to every person listening to this. So I think we would go a little into my past and how bad a student I was at school, so, which has led me to be here where I can actually empower the lives of 1 lakh plus, students. I definitely want to talk about how I was told by my English teacher that you're never going to learn English in your life.
Wow.
And how today I write English textbooks for schools. And I definitely want to talk about the little miracles and faith that has kind of carried me through this journey where so many people felt I shouldn't be an author, I shouldn't be an educator, I shouldn't do this, I shouldn't do that. And here I am with Willie,
Amazing.
on this talk show talking about all the things everyone told me don't do.
I have just one question. Why did that teacher tell you that you're never going to learn English? What happened? Is there any incidents that happened in school?
It was fun. I was in the 6th standard and I come from a Marwadi family where everyone at home spoke in Hindi. And my teacher made me stand up and she said, "Can you convert this sentence into future continuous tense?" And I was tensed about my future. That's all. So, and then I realized that I didn't know the answer. And all the other girls were bickering at me. And, you're at that age where what people think matters so much to you. And then this teacher goes and tells me that you're going to be a vegetable. You're never going to learn English. Mark my words. And nothing good's going to come out of your life. And I was really dejected. I went home. I remember just crying and being like, God, is this true? And, you kind of feel so much for your teachers that you believe their word. Good thing was, Willie, I think the sound of my own heart was always a lot louder than anyone, that anything anyone was telling me outside. Fortunately, I think something told me that, hey, this is just one person's opinion and I can prove it wrong. The most amazing part of this little story is, Willie, just a few years ago, Times of India did this half-page article on one of my books. The same principal, the same teacher calls me up and tells me, no, actually she mailed me and she writes to me, "I always knew you're going to do something great in life." And I was stumped and I didn't even want to do anything to prove a point. But the whole idea is that what I want to tell everyone, all the time is listen to yourself because you know best what's good for you.
As you narrated that incident, almost brought a tear to me. It just shifted energies in me in ways that I wasn't expecting. The reason is because sometimes teachers just say things, and those are the things that students end up remembering all their life. And it has such crazy impacts. Like when you imagine, that's the first thing that comes to your mind. And as you speak that, I remember of an incident in my own life when in 8th standard, I flunked my maths exam. And I remember very clearly that I just came back home. I ran into the bedroom. I threw myself on the bed with I literally dug my face into the pillow, and I was sobbing and I was weeping. And I said, "Oh, I'm a failure. I'm a failure. I'm a failure." That's what I said. I remember that word. I'm a failure. I'm a failure. And I don't know what happened next, but I don't feel like a failure anymore. The reason is the way my parents helped me process that, the way my father was there, the way my mother was there, the way they helped me process that information, just help me go through that. But that was an incident in my life that I remember, and I just feel so strongly for you as a sixth standard girl. Literally, when somebody you respect and admire tells you, it almost becomes like a prophecy. And what is inspiring for me to know is that you got over that, right? And you said no. that is
Yeah.
not that is not who I'm going to be. How did you then craft this life you're living after that? Tell us more about,
Yeah.
you know, what what moved you there? What, because troubles are there in everyone's life, but you've broken out of that.
I think, Willie, I was always a very unconventional student. So while I went to JB Pettit High School, a phenomenal school in south of Bombay and beautiful school, but somehow being in class, just studying, never attracted me enough. Instead, I had a terrace that faced the sea, and all I would want to do is sit there and keep scribbling questions. And I would actually ask questions at 9 and 10 and 11 years of age: who is God? And whatever the answer would come, I would flow with it in a notebook. How do I get over this emotion? What is love? These were the questions that actually I was more interested and excited to know, versus A plus B is equal to, 2AB. I don't even know if I've got that right. Edit it if it's not. So, so yeah, that is the thing. I think one of the most important things I found, Willie, is that what question are you asking yourself? you know and those are the answers that our life is going to find for us. So if someone sitting here is thinking, how do I build the next $1 billion empire, that's the answer they're going to find. How do I do this, that's the answer they're going to find. And I think the question for me has always been, how do I empower a million lives to live to their full potential? Of course, the first thing is a million, and from there I'll keep on increasing it. But how do you empower more lives, be it youngsters, be it women, be it anyone in the world, is a question I keep asking, and the answers have been the journey of my life.
But this is beautiful because what you're saying is questions direct thought. Your thoughts are directed by the questions that you're staying
Absolutely.
with. And if you're asking these questions, you'll get these answers, which means I love it because as a community, as a group of people, everyone's looking for answers. No one's thinking of what kind of questions to be asking.
Yes.
Is the quality of question that I'm asking correct? Is the quality of question that is my direction right? And I love the fact that you've put this out because people need to understand that it's their questions that is going to manifest into answers and manifest and create their
True.
reality, right? So that I think is this. Tell us about this book that you've written. This the breakthrough book. You probably met so many people, interviewed so many successful people. What commonalities did you see in them? Is there something that, I mean, I know everyone should buy that book and read it, but if you had to say in a minute or two or three or four or five or 10, what commonalities you've seen in people that really make them successful, and what did you personally like learn from that experience that you had?
So I'm going to share two amazing stories around the breakthrough. The first was, it's a book about 11 people, Willie, who began their life from nothing. And when I say nothing, we usually imagine that it's just money. But nothing could even be lack of confidence. Nothing could even be a parent missing. A lot of nothings were there. And how these guys and girls, these 11 trailblazers, as I call them, how did they find their path where today, at least in their city, they are seen as the the benchmark, the role model. And the best thing about these 11 is it's not just that they're successful in a way that the world understands success, but they are also holistic humans. Where what I see is that they take care of their health, they have beautiful relationships, they're all spiritually aligned. So these are the kind of people I wanted for the book, and their story has been amazing. So, a little anecdote is that I told all these 11 after I identified them from a huge list of people. I was like, I'm not going to do a conversation over coffee with you. The only way I'm going to do this is I'm going to come and live with you. If you allow me to live in your house, watch everything, absorb, talk to your cook, talk to your dog, talk to everyone and gather stuff, that's the way we'll be able to create a real beautiful book. And they agreed. So it was amazing. Um, the one commonality that I find among all these 11 is a beautiful concept, okay? So there's this concept that I learned it from my guru Mahatria. It's called the imaginary finishing line, okay?
Okay.
Yeah, imaginary finishing line. So the whole concept goes like this, that when we're walking through life, right, there comes a point where we feel it's a finishing line. And a lot of people believe this is the finishing line and they stop. Whereas the people who know, hey, this is not the finishing line, this is just an imaginary finishing line, they cross over and that's how they become great. Okay? So, a lot of people in their life, I mean, I'm sure Willie, you'd connect to this. There may be a time in your life when you're feeling very sleepy in the night. Okay? And you know you have a little work to be done, but you're very sleepy. Suddenly, you cross over a threshold and now you're not sleepy anymore. Has that happened to
that
you?
has.
Or you're
That
running, or
has.
like you're a biker, right?
Yeah, that
You're biking, and you feel okay, now it's enough. But something tells you, no, go a little beyond. And you go, and that turns out to be the best bit of your ride.
Yeah.
So that's the imaginary finishing line. All these 11 people, Willie, somehow knew that every time it looked like an end, it was just a bend, and they kept going. And I think that has been that one common trait that's got all these guys beyond anyone else in their respective fields. So going beyond the finishing line is what I think would really work for people.
That's just
And
amazing.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there is this whole theory in marathons. They say that when you think that you're done, you're finished, you're over, your body is telling you to stop, don't run any further, don't pull a muscle, don't do anything. Researchers said that I think you're only 40% spent.
Yes. Yes.
And you can actually push through, but it's real, yeah. You really feel that you just can't go on.
Yes.
And imagine if you're just 40% spent. What is the amazing possibility that lies ahead of that imaginary line?
And I have to share one personal experience that I had with Breakthrough following this observation about these people.
You broke through your imaginary line?
Yes.
What was that?
Yeah. So the book was ready sometime in April 2020. And that's when we went into a complete lockdown. The Breakthrough book itself was something that I would want every person to read, especially in the COVID period, because it's so inspiring. Now, everyone's from a different city. You can't travel. We're all locked into our homes. What do we do? That was the whole thought. So we decided, let's have a virtual launch. Now that we want to have a virtual launch with such a big book and everything, we thought, let's have the world's biggest book launch. Okay. And we're wondering, okay, so what do we do? So Rupa, my publisher, they told me that, by the way, someone's had a book launch where 1 lakh people attended virtually. Wow. So if you want to have the world's biggest book launch, you have to cross that number. So we're thinking, okay, it's about 11 people. 11 holds a lot of sacredness to us because of, the path I follow and stuff. So we thought, let's have 111 people attend the book launch. Now, just that thought, okay, Willie, the kind of kinesthetic energy that happened around it, when they say that one thought can conspire miracles in your life, I saw it in action, okay? So 15th August 2020 was decided to be the date. I invited everybody I knew. We went crazy on digital media. All these 11 people invited everyone. We had some amazing evangelists like, a friend of mine called Sridhar, another friend of mine called Amar. They all came and we all joined forces that let's have the world's biggest book launch. The way we even ended up attracting Book My Show, which
Oh.
is actually about like more musical
Yeah,
shows.
events and stuff.
But they decided, okay, this book launch we're going to take up. Till 14th August, midnight, after all the effort, we were at 23,000 registrations, which, mind you, for a book launch is phenomenal because typically in a book launch you'll have 200 to 300 people.
Yeah.
But it was still
23,000.
but it was still very short of the triple one we wanted. That was a moment of my life, Willie, that I'll never forget. That night, I was like, God, I think I've done everything I possibly could. I literally remember going down on my knees, midnight, 14th August 2020, and saying, I've done my best, comma, now you do the rest. And I actually visualize these words. I've done my best, comma, now please you do the rest. And I slept. I think it must have been the first night I slept after days because so much went into creating that event. 15th August, 6 o'clock p.m., we did the launch. It's on the next Tuesday. It was a Sunday. Tuesday, we got the numbers, okay, that how many people attended it. Can you guess what number it was?
I'm guessing maybe 10% more.
We were at 3 lakh
Oh, my.
82,750 people from across the globe attended that book launch. And I was amazed because how does 23,000 in less than 24 hours become that? And that's when I realized, Willie, that the power of you do your best. So you have to do all that action, work hard, blah, blue, everything, comma. Is that humility where you actually say, I've done everything. Now you take over. And he did take over. So
It's amazing because so much of the youth today, the millennials today, they're learning and getting all their inspiration of Instagram and Instagram. They just feel like just having a big idea, having a big thought, having a vision, having a crazy end goal is enough. But I think they completely underplay the responsibility of man.
absolutely.
There are the place that perspiration plays, the place that a conviction, a deeply rooted conviction plays, a place what dedication and just that effort, that hard work, that boring leg work plays in all this. They say 99% perspiration, right? 1% is grace,
Absolutely.
right? If you don't do that 99, you're not going to get that one. And I think that is a great lesson for all the youth, especially our children today.
That's what.
Our children should know that
Yeah.
that the legwork is boring. The legwork is, but it's important. It counts. It counts. You would not have got that 3 lakh if you didn't get that 23,000.
Absolutely.
And I think that is phenomenal. So how has your, when you look at your life, when you look backward at your life, what are those amazing experiences that at times I've had these experiences and I've found it difficult to process, but somebody comes and sometimes just says the perfect thing. It could be as simple as a sentence, and that just shifts my entire perspective of the situation. It reframes myself. It changes my point of view. It moves me into action. It moves me into acceptance. Has anything like that? Do you remember anything like that happening in your life? Because to me, you come across as so grounded, so clear, so sure. And just to have that sense of clarity that you bring in. Like I feel quite unbundled when I sit with you. That calming, clarifying sort of nature. It'd be nice to know how you have got molded and moved by words, actions, deeds, beliefs, anything like that. Anything comes to your mind?
Yeah, I mean, I think a very beautiful experience does come to my mind. So, one of the people, if I can even call him that, a presence, I would say, that's shaped me in a very significant way is my Guru Mahatria. And so, my mother was diagnosed with stage 4, grade 4 brain cancer. and this was in 2012. And I remember feeling, the doctors were literally like, please take her home because we don't have much to do. And I don't think there's anything left. We shouldn't put her through any pain and all. And my mother's this very resilient woman, very, a courageous woman, and like wants to live, wants to do things. So I couldn't accept it as a daughter that, oh, okay, this is it for her. And I remember going home very dejected from the hospital. And I remember just, calling my guru and saying that, Mahatria, this is what they've said. That's it. I didn't know what to say further. He said one sentence from the other end, and he just said, you know what? Your mother is a conqueror. She's a fighter. She's going to fight this through. And here is the doctor telling me that there's a circle. In that, there's a big circle. That big circle is the big tumor in the mother, in my mother's brain. How's she ever going to fight this? And the next sentence or the next feeling that I had was this, this quote that Mahatria says, if love cannot, nothing else can, and love can. And somehow there was this feeling of such immense love that here's a woman who wants to live her life. Here's a woman who wants to do so much. This can't be the time for her to go. And let me, as a daughter, do everything I can. That's all. And me, my sister, my father somehow just bought into this whole thing with faith, and so did my mother. You won't believe it, Willie. What was considered to be a medically impossible situation, she fought it through till, I lost her just 2 months back, but 10 years after she was given 3 months to live, she's lived a life dancing, making a difference, traveling, inspiring maybe hundreds and thousands of cancer conquerors because her story was featured in CNBC, Humans of Bombay, lot of magazines and newspapers. So it was so beautiful to watch this miracle unfold before me because I felt that actually that sentence, if love cannot, nothing can, and love can, is what made this whole thing happen. And the most amazing thing of this whole thing is, Willie, that for 10 years, she did not go for a single scan and she did not pop a single pill. It's pure faith and, of course, some lifestyle changes that she brought about that carried her through. So it was incredible. And even now, I don't tear up talking that, yeah, she went because I feel what a life, what a decade she's lived, inspiring so many people that to me, she's a celebration. And that's how I feel.
Wow. For you to have that experience, and a lot of people say that cancer doesn't happen to one person, it happens to a family. Um, and in many cases, I think the patient themselves somehow finds the grace and the strength to accept it. But what happens is others around find it very difficult to accept that. And for me to know that you're able to live a joyful life with your mom for 10 years after somebody said the imaginary line is real, I think that is just phenomenal. I cannot even begin to understand or appreciate what would have gone through your life at that time, because life also has to go on for everybody. There's probably marriage in
Absolutely.
between, there's so many other things in between. Life also has to go on. But wow, what a story, what an experience that is. What would you say to somebody who's probably going through that experience now and they have nobody to call the way you had somebody to call?
I think the same thing that I've learned that if love cannot, nothing can, and love can. If your love for something in life is a lot greater than the cancer, it could be your child, it could be your what you're doing, it could be a dream. Um, I can say this with faith because I've lived it for 10 years. You will cross over because we loved her so much and she loved us so much. And None of us were ready to let go of life at that point. 10 years. She just, I mean, and 10 beautiful years, not where she was, bedridden, nothing, living life to the hill till the last 3 months where she was, of course, a little ill. So I would just want to tell all of you that, and cancer is a word, it could be a tough relationship, it could be issues you're going through in your profession. Just make the love greater than the fear, and you're going to cross over.
I've not met people who are doing amazing things. I've not met people who are doing work that has the potential to impact the lives of millions of people who have themselves not gone through the deepest dumps of life. And people like that, we see, oh, that person has written a book or written a movie or is or is so rich or whatever. What people see about the person is so different from what made that person
Yeah.
be. I haven't seen people who haven't experienced that level of grief themselves, and then something changes in them that makes them want to impact the lives of a million or more people. But having said that, I just want to share that we want people who have experienced grief to be the ones who are helping others process it. We talk about why, as a world, we may not be as empathetic. It's easier to be sympathetic, but to be empathetic, we have to be people who've experienced that ourselves. And 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 from that point on, I'm thinking your work with children that you started, I think 10 years ago. 10 years ago,
Yes.
you started that work
Yes.
with children,
Yes.
and you said you want to build a curriculum, you want to build something for them that is going to mold them and move them and shape them, because you yourself seem to be somebody who was not a typical normal student
Yes.
as per what people define is a normal student. And you yourself were always um, asking big questions that teachers hate to answer, and
Yes.
certainly questions that Google can't answer for you.
For sure.
you know and that's, I think, why you've been able to do what you're able to do, and also actively crafting out the life you want to live for yourself and the life you see other children or other future adults living. So tell us about this amazing curriculum that you've built, that you're actively helping 100,000 children shape their lives. What is that based on?
Yeah.
you know
So this is called the WOW 3 Ls, and the 3 Ls stand for language, life, and leadership skills. What I realized is, Willie, I came from one of the best schools in Bombay, one which has been rated as one of the best top five schools for at least 50 years now. Okay. Yet, when I went out into the world, I realized that no one was asking me questions on history, but they were asking me, can I look into their eyes and talk to them? Okay, which was not taught to me in school. No one was asking me about geography facts. Okay, what they were looking for is, can I build a relation? Can I be empathetic? Nobody till date has asked me that how much did you score in math ever, you know. But what people are looking for is that, can I lead them? Can I think for myself, and can I do big things, with my thoughts? So there's such a gap between what we're taught in schools in terms of curriculum versus what real life demands. My question is, why don't we have a subject in schools that actually teaches us how to relate, how to speak, how to, and when I say speak, please, it's not elocution. When I say speak, it is, how do you speak to yourself? How do you speak one on one, one to many? How do you just enter into a room of strangers and yet make them feel comfortable around you and also feel comfortable around them? I think how you relate, how you are as a human is going to be way more important than what you scored in any subject, right? And where are we going to learn this? And right now, all schools say we are very holistic. We are all about life skills, and I think schools are doing phenomenal work. But to a system where the teacher is so stressed to complete a curriculum, you're expecting that within a class, she's also going to ensure that one among every of those 40 kids is going to learn life skills. I don't think that's possible. So the only thought in my head is that 1 week, one period will be dedicated where you're not learning a subject, but you're the subject. You're asking yourself, who am I? What are my thoughts? What are my strengths? What are my bottlenecks? What is my attitude towards myself, towards others, towards life? So I'm not leaving life skills to chance anymore. And that's what the whole concept is. And I was amazed. I mean, a lot of my life really has been a lot of lucky chances coming together. So one of the principals of a school was doing a workshop with me, and she loved it so much that she's like, I want to take this to 4,500 children in my school. That's how Wow 3Ls was born 10 years ago. From there, her neighboring school, they said, hey, we are looking and something good's happening. Can you send us the book? They opted for it. Then more. In fact, till date, I don't have a marketing team. I don't have a sales team. And we are impacted 1 lakh students over, these few years. And while I'm doing other things as well, like I'm also writing books, I'm also doing film scripts. And we've been able to do that only because of the way children are responding to the whole program, the way they're transforming, and teachers love the program. Usually the bridge between any program and the child is the teacher. Teachers are realizing that, hey, by teaching them all this, we are learning it. The classroom's becoming a lot more fun, a lot more cohesive, and everything's falling into place better. They're feeling good about themselves. So I think that's been the success of the program. And I think I've not even begun, really, because honestly, my dream is that can we touch at least 1 million lives? So I'm really at a beginning stage, but I wish I can take this to a lot more.
As you tell me this story comes to my mind. I was talking to a marketing guy. He was a designer, exceptional designer. And he came to me one day because I went to him asking him this question about how can we improve the quality of communications of my school, and how can I do this and how can I do that. And he gave me this story, and I'd like to share this story right now with you. He said, there's a guy in South India, in Trivandrum, there's a guy called Venkat Swami. And Venkat Swami, he was so sincere and so loyal and so hardworking that he came first rank in senior KG. After that, I didn't stop there. Then every year in first standard, second standard, in fifth standard, he came first in every class. After that, he did a scholarship exam. He came first. In 10th, he topped the board exams. In 12th, he was in the first 3. After that, he cracked his NEET or the IIT programs. He got into IIT. He came first there. After that, he did his GATE. He got into post graduation. He got first place there, and he got a perfect score. From there, he was the first person to get hired in campus, the highest possible salary anyone has got in that institution. That is the story of Venkat Swami. And then he asked me, Willie, do you know this guy? Have you heard of him? I said, no, yeah. I mean, what a guy. I've not heard of him. And he said, you know why? Because उसने जो भी जिंदगी में किया है ना, खुद के लिए किया, दूसरों के लिए कुछ नहीं किया.
Amazing.
I was like, wow. And so my designer, the guy who does my design, his name is Sadanand, he told me, दूसरों के लिए क्या कर रहा है तू, Willie? You're running a school, ठीक है. Just because you're running a school and you have so many children doesn't mean you're doing something. Are you in service to the people that you are? And that is so beautifully coming through when you're saying this, right? That while we are running a school, our duty is to teach children for the test. Okay, fine. There is a test. There is a standard. We got to teach them that. We got to help them get through that test. Otherwise, kids may not be able to process the fact that they are not able to do that test. And then we don't want them to live with that belief. That is not true, right? We don't want them to live that belief. But I see that you are challenging that. You're challenging the status quo and saying, I want to make it different.
Absolutely.
And I want to make it through the softer skills. 10 years ago, people start talking about EQ versus IQ. And what is EQ? Why should we wait till we are 30 or 40 or 50 or, in a midlife crisis and suddenly wonder, hey, why should it be that my HR director in my company or my training director comes to me and says, you know what? You have a problem working in teams. Right? And I love the fact that you are getting this into school, you're getting this into mainstream. And not every school is going to take, but the kind of school principal who really wants to do work for others, the kind of school principal who wants to make a big difference, a transformative difference to the life of that child, is probably going to take this up. She's a seeker, she's going to find, and she's going to find you, and then she's going to take this up. Tell me some amazing stories that you must have heard from your children. Any stories of transformation, any
Oh,
stories of change?
amazing stories. Amazing.
Like,
So I have to tell one. It's my pet one, and I share it pretty often, but I love this story. So there was this boy who came to me looking very sad, and I was that time teaching in a school as well. I used to go and do workshops for them. So he came and I did a session on gratitude, and I thought he'll be very excited about it. And but he looked very sad. He came to me after class and he said, "Miss, I'm very sad. Must be in sixth standard, okay?" And I was like, "Why are you so sad?" And he said, "This year again, my parents are taking me to America for a holiday." And I was like,
okay.
"Shouldn't that make you happy? Why are you sad?" He's like, "You don't understand, ma'am. All my friends are going to Europe, and I'm only going to America. And they're going to tease me that you're going to America." And I obviously, just took a few moments to realize that what a child. Okay, but yeah, it was one of those schools, a very, well known international school. And I was like, fair enough. This is the problem. I immediately opened the Wow book, and we have this beautiful story that I've written about the what if genie. Okay. And the way the story goes is the what if genie asks all the kids to close their eyes and flap their wings and imagine that they all have wings. So all the children in the class actually visualize that, they have wings. And I made this child do this. I said, close your eyes and just visualize you have wings. What are you going to do? Where are you going to go? What all are you going to see? And he was ecstatic in that experience of having wings. Then I told him, okay, now this what if genie asks you, what if you had no hands? And I actually made him I tied his hands around, and with just a dupatta. And I just told him that now visualize just for 30 seconds you don't have hands. And he looked in like 10 seconds like he's going to cry. Okay. Then I opened and I asked him, I'm like, so now the what if genie tells you that though you don't have wings, at least you have hands. And what more can you do with your hands? And have you ever actually taken a moment to thank your hands? And he just looked at me, okay? The child, he's just looking at me non-stop. Suddenly, he just says, he's like, ma'am, I got it. That's it. He didn't say a word. He didn't say America, Europe, wow, nothing. All he said is, ma'am, I
I
got it.
I got it.
And that's all I needed because I realized that we all talk, let's imbibe gratitude in children. How are you going to do that? By just making them say thank you. Thank you is words, gratitude is a feeling, and it's only through experiential exercises, stories, ways that we can actually build this skill into the child, and what a difference. One more little one, Willie,
Yes,
if I
please
may.
tell me.
So, in the curriculum for UKG, okay, in
That's
Wow,
what? That is
uh,
junior KG
senior
in some
KG,
states. Okay.
senior
Senior
KG, yeah.
KG in some states. The
So
child is
where
4 years old.
4 years old, okay, and I have this whole worksheet where in a class the child actually goes through the entire day, okay, but bringing in gratitude. So, for example, the teacher just makes the classroom dark and they all pretend that they're sleeping. Now, as they wake up, most parents are literally like, Ari, get up, go to school, do this, do that. There's no what gratitude, right? So we actually, the teacher makes all the children in bed say, thank you so much, for one more beautiful day. Then, as they're brushing, they have to say thank you to their teeth. As they're having their milk, they have to say thank you to their parents that they're able to have something. So, we make them go through this whole day of gratitude. In that, one of the things is that to the bus driver, they all have to say thank you and then get down. Now, this is done as a class or whatever in one of the schools. The next day, afternoon, the bus driver, comes in tears to the correspondence office and says, by the way, ma'am, 30 years I've worked in your school. And yeah, there are people who will say thank you when they get down. First time, your entire senior KG class came to me and said, thank you, Anna. Thank you, Anna. They meant it. And I've never had such a big bunch say thank you to me, and I'm moved to tears. So they could actually pick it up that, hey, it's not just a story, it's something we live in our real life, and they were implementing it. So that touched me very deeply
That's the
somehow.
world I want to live in. That's the world I want my children to live in. And that's the world I want children to actively create and craft for themselves. I love what you said. You said thank you is a word.
Gratitude is a
Gra-
feeling.
Gratitude is a feeling. It's an emotion. I mean, I'm called to think about magic words that we teach in nursery, junior, senior. Please, thank you, sorry, excuse me. Where are we teaching feelings? Where are we getting them to feel? Where are we getting them to use that? And if we don't get that feeling, because I'm reminded of the song in which you say, not song, I think it was a poetry, it was a soliloquy written by somebody about teachers, how teachers make a difference. You know, if you look it up on YouTube, you get it. Very popular during Teachers' Day. And in one of that, the teacher says, I make children say sorry and mean it. I mean, there are millions of teachers who make children say sorry. There are millions of parents who make who make children say sorry. Their own children say sorry. But getting them to mean it is a whole different ballgame. And I think that is where real change is going to happen.
Absolutely.
Right? That is where amazing things happen. So, what would you, if all the parents were able to hear you today and they're going to give you their undivided attention for some time, maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes, what would you like to tell them about children and, children and school, children and what's going on in school, children and what's going on at home? And even as you say this to me, I reflect about my own children and I ask myself the question, have I explicitly sat down with my daughters and spoken about gratitude? And I don't think I have as much as I should. Because a part of me says, let me wait till they grow older. Is that a fallacy? Is that something that needs to be addressed immediately? What are your thoughts? What do you want to say around that?
I think, Willie, feelings are literally the single most thing that kind of govern our entire life. I mean, today, if you've woken up, there's a very strong love that's actually made you get up from your bed and do what you do. If you really look at everything everyone is doing, there's a feeling that they either get out of doing it or a feeling that they want and they believe doing it will give them, right? So feelings govern so much of our life. And if the universe has a lot of laws that it operates out of. So we even think that, oh, thoughts create things, in our life. Thoughts direct things, but it's feelings that actually draw things into our life. And there's a beautiful law of life. That which you feel continuously, more of that will be given to you. That which you feel continuously, that more of that is going to be given to you. People who are unhappy because all the time they're dwelling in unhappiness. People who are grateful and happy are people, it's nothing to do with what they have or don't have in their life. Like, I've seen people having everything, feeling miserable about life. And I've seen people who have nothing, feeling not so good. So, in fact, a very small story is that, there's a boy who gets fired by his father very badly, and then he goes to school. That day, he's taken to school, from the school to an orphanage. And he's looking and he just sees that the children are so free. They're so happy, And he tells one of the children that, you're so lucky you don't have parents who scream at you. And that child, the orphan, looks back at this child and says, how I wish I had a father who fired me. And this boy, both are in tears, and he realizes what he's kind of missing in life. I think feelings are everything, and where in the entire education system are we addressing feelings? Is my question, or even at home. I mean, some homes I know we really talk about feelings, and like my home, I'm really, I feel blessed that every day when I came from school, my mother would sit me down on this stool and ask me, how are you feeling today? And in that 45 minutes, I would talk. Everything that would have happened in the day, I would tell her. So I think if we could just cultivate a world where we can listen to the children's feelings, where we can direct their feelings, where we are more aware of how we are feeling and what's the dominant feeling in the house. Like, Willie, the moment I entered into your studio, I'm telling you, there's such a happy feeling. You know, I can feel that all of you love being here and all of you feel happy about what you're doing here. Can we talk about feelings and guide the children on how they can make it a lot better? And I think we're going to create a better world. Like a beautiful story of John Lennon comes to my mind where his teacher asked the entire class, what do you want to be in life? And everyone said, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a lawyer, I want to be a teacher. John Lennon gets up and says, I want to be happy. And the teacher said, I don't think you've understood the question. He looks at her in the eye and says, sorry, ma'am, I don't think you've understood the answer. And that's what I want to tell all the parents out there, that let's cue into our children's feelings. Let's get that right. I'm telling you, the marks, their future, you get the feelings right, you'll get your child right. Let's do it.
What would you tell a father like me? In all these stories, I see mother, mother, mother. What would you tell a father like me?
I think the same thing that, I think especially in the Indian context, men are supposed to not have feelings. Men are supposed to not cry. In today's interview itself, Willie, I saw you tearing up thrice, which means you have all those feelings. So I would just say that, and you have such beautiful two daughters. I wish you talk to them about your feelings and get to know about theirs. Build so much of a context for that love to grow between y'all. I think anywhere they go, they're going to flourish. Especially with a dad, I have to tell you this about my dad. I made a mistake in college, okay? A big one. Like, I was a very naughty child and I actually forged a signature of my teacher. I was called to the principal's office. I've done all that also, okay? So I was called to the principal's office, and my parents had such belief in me. So they screamed at the principal and said, our daughter, no, she cannot do anything wrong. And I was very sheepish because I knew I had lied. 2 days later, the guilt of the lie was too heavy on me, and I used to press my dad's feet in the night sometimes and all, just to feel that love between us. And I started crying. He's like, why are you crying? And I said, it was I who did it and I made a mistake. My dad said something to me that night, Willie, that I'll never forget in my life. He said, no matter what wrong you do in life, no matter how big a mistake you make, Papa is with you. All you have to do is come and tell him, he will take care of it. But don't lie. That's it. And since then, I don't think I've ever hid anything from him. And the kind of rapport that's built in us, and yeah, I just knowing that he feels that way for me, I would think 10 times before doing anything wrong. And I think if you build that, I'm sure you already have that, but since you're asking, if that's the rapport you have with the two beautiful girls, you can put them in any university, any job. Just knowing that at home we have a dad who loves and trusts us so much, they can't go haywire.
Wow. Just knowing that somebody deeply cares, that somebody unconditionally loves. I think that has a very, I don't know, help me out here. That has a very strengthening, or
Yeah. Very
it's that
profound
coming home
impact.
feeling or something. It's like
Yeah. Yeah.
that warm soup when you are sick.
Yeah. That womb feeling.
Yeah,
Yeah. And you don't want to do anything to mess around with that
you don't
feeling.
want to. Yeah, you don't want to do anything to mess around with that feeling. I think those are the things that work even more than threats,
Oh, threats will never work.
especially with women.
Yeah, and especially a child like me. I mean, when I was a child, you
Oh, don't
threat
you threaten me.
don't do that. The next minute, my hand would be in that socket. So,
Oh my God.
yeah,
But yeah, as fathers, I think you said about the Indian context, so much more we can do.
yeah.
And this, and it's not like these kids want so much from us either. They just want that acceptance, that nourishment.
Just one more little thing, Willie, especially
Mm.
because you're getting all warm and sweet about this. I think dads in India stop touching their daughters when they grow up.
Tell me more about
So
this, please.
when like
And by grow up, you mean like
yeah,
age,
like
and
say
just tell me. Yeah.
say when a girl hits her puberty,
Mm.
okay, or whatever, they feel certain, a little distance, or they feel like shy to, kind of hug their daughter and sleep, or touch her, or just, you know, pat her on the head, or just be a little more demonstrative of their love. Okay. This is in general, I've observed. I think what this does is it makes a girl child seek for that touch outside, okay, which may not come in the healthy form that it's coming from her father. So one urge I would want every educator and every parent to bring about, and if educators to could talk to their parents and make sure, I think girl children, when they hit their puberty, they are even more vulnerable, even more self conscious. Are we good looking enough? Are we okay the way we are? Are we fine? There's a lot going on that you can't see. In these moments, showing them your security or your love, your protection through touch is going to go a very long way, because when they know good touch, they'll also know what's bad touch. If they don't know good touch, they'll never know what's bad touch. So, like when I came of age, when I hit puberty, I remember it was in the night, and I got my first period, and I thought it's going to be my mom who's going to be consoling me, but she was like sleepy and she slept off. The whole night, my dad just patted my stomach and he got me a hot water bag. And I was so silly. I kept asking him, Papa, will you stop loving me? Have I changed? What will happen to me? I didn't know. I was very naive about it. And all he did was he kept patting my stomach. And I'll never forget that night till the last day of my life, because the security and the shield of protective love that formed around me ensured I never went astray in my life. I love the fact that you're tearing up for the fifth time now.
Yeah, who's counting? Yeah, I think this is what our life is, right? I think parenting is the highest form of leadership, and it doesn't take much. I don't think daughters are inspired or impressed by the cars you drive, or the money you have. I think it's the thoughts that you have, and it's about the space that you can hold. So much to learn, Megha, and I really feel that I want all the students in my school, at least, and especially my daughters, to be able to experience your life's work, because I know that all these experiences have shaped you, have guide you in your process. You would have put all these things down, distilled in these books to create experiences for children that are similar to what you've had. And I think that is what I want to bring to my children for sure. And I really hope and pray that there are at least some people who listen to this with the intent in which we are putting it out there for them. And through them, they are the instruments of change. And through them, hundreds and thousands of children can change. And I think numbers is a myth. You can change one person, just go out there and change that person's life. And I think that is going to be incredible. You are in this world not to collect, but to contribute. So what is our contribution is something that we do. Megha Bajaj, before I cry the sixth time, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for everything that you bring to this world. Thank you for everything that you bring to schools and through children and to principals. And if there is anything that you'd like to say before we cut, use your time.
All I want to say is that if you ask why, you'll never cry. You know, it's so beautiful, really, to just watch you cry because it's when our mind cannot comprehend how deep a feeling or emotion we are going through. That's when it comes as tears. If you can consciously understand why you're going through what you're going through, you won't cry. And I wish, and I think the depth of feelings, like, I wish I could be the context to make so many more positive tears come to life where I wish children, I mean, I've been told that in the WOW classes, children cry out of gratitude. Children cry out of love. Children have actually cried out of peace. So I actually wish, we always wish that I wish I spread a lot of smiles. I wish I actually spread a lot of happy tears. I think that's what I'd want to do in my life.
More power to you, Meghna. Thank you so much for thank you so much for being here at the
After
studios
all
today.
that, if you call me Meghna,
Megha,
then you deserve a slap. Don't edit that.
thank you so much, Megha, for everything, for being here today and sharing everything that you did. And I'm sure that you're going to be touching more lives in more ways than you can possibly imagine.
Thank you so much, Willie,
Yes.
and the entire team. And you guys have really made my 3-hour travel worth it. I've loved every moment of this. And if there's something I'm going to take back, Willie, it's those beautiful tears in your eyes right now. Thank you. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.